All right, welcome. Hour number 9 of the Phys Ed Summit. I'm going to be your moderator for this session. My name is Matt Pomeroy, part of the Phys Edagogy team, and I am a Phys Ed Summit moderator. You can always tweet at me at physed_Pomeroy. And again, just everyone out there, everyone watching, everyone hanging out with us, welcome to the Phys Ed Summit. Thank you so much for joining this global event. We could not make this day happen without you. We're very humbled by the support of the summit from each and every one of you. Again, by sharing what you've learned, with one person today, can impact hundreds, if not thousands, of students. And specifically, this one can be very impactful and very important for educators. So I'm excited to be here and be learning about Just Talk. So again, thank you so much, though, for being here. To push best practices, effective health and physical education, and professional development forward. All right. We are utilizing technology to make this conference work, so sometimes things will go wrong. If anything goes wrong with the video feed or the link, check that toggle back, and it might take us a minute or two, but we will get things rolling. But we just want to thank you for your patience. Reminder about the badge system. I've been working on those badges all day. And again, you can check out the badges at physedagogy.com/phys-ed-summit/phys-ed summit badges. And again, 21 different badges out there that you can earn just to have a little bit of fun while you're getting some professional development. So kind of cool stuff. Again, chatting in the toggle is fantastic. It's a great way to interact with others around. And I can get some questions into our presenter, who is Kris, for this session. So again, we're looking for a little bit of back and forth as well, too, out of this session, which is cool. So you guys chat it up, and we'll interact with Kris, and it's pretty exciting. But he's going to share some other great things, so make sure you take pictures of it or post the best quotes on social media so everyone else can kind of see that as well, utilizing that hashtag PhysEdSummit. So everyone can see it too. Again, we've got a Flipgrid link that will be dropped into the toggle. Oh man, so many cool things happening. But that Flipgrid link, basically what you can do is you can showcase how you're going to take what Kris is teaching us today and implement it into your classroom, or take it back into your classroom. So again, we've got a couple of premium subscriptions. Aha, pretty cool. So if you do that, you got a chance of winning one of those. So certificates of participation are available on our website. So you can get, by giving us some feedback, you can get a professional development certificate and showcase what you've learned. So as I said, I think I am excited and I am ready to kick this off. Again, Kris Lundgren is here, and the session is called Just Talk. So Kris, quick introduction of yourself, and again, just thank you for being part of the Phys Ed Summit. We couldn't make it happen without presenters like you.
What's up, Matt? I think, am I on here now?
Yeah, you're on. We got you.
Right. So live and ready to go here. Thank you once again for putting this together. I'm super excited to talk. I've been following Phys Ed Summit for a couple of years and watching different videos and getting different ideas from other educators through PE and health. So I'm super excited to be able to present with you guys today. So today's topic is going to be Just Talk. And as I start with all my students, give you a little bit about myself so you guys know who I am as a person. But I'll just do a little screen share here with you guys and go over just a little bit about myself. So I am Kris Lundgren. I've been teaching for roughly 12 years. I've been 7 years at the high school level at Joliet Central High School. And I'm father, husband, teacher, public speaker, and national BMX champion. So kind of that's my hook with everything that I do with my kids is BMX racing. Sometimes they get sick of hearing about it, but I use that to try to unleash that they all have a passion hidden inside of them. And, whether it's bike riding, whether it's skateboarding, art, photography, whatever it is, they all have something. And this kind of ties together with two of the main lessons I do in my class, which is mental health and substance abuse prevention. And I'll kind of tie those together here. So, the purpose of this session is proactive prevention education through mental health and suicide prevention, breaking down stigmas that exist within your classroom, within your school community, and all around. Hope for the Day. For those that have not heard of Hope for the Day, if you're also surfing the web while you're there, check out www.hftd.org, and you can see a little bit of Hope for the Day, and I'll kind of also elaborate on them as we go through these slides, and I'll bounce back and forth. Teaching the importance of advocacy to your students. If Andy Milne is listening out there, this is something I pulled from him as he was as I went to one of his presentations, and I realized I was already doing this, so just really tied it back into my classroom. And then how to make your students or get your students to buy into being agents of impact, and not just students, but I'll go over ways that you can even do more with that. And then how can you promote proactive prevention within your classroom and within your school? And I want to hear your ideas at the end, so I want you guys to share and see, can you already tie this into what you're doing in your classroom? So
I love that term, agents of impact. That's cool.
Oh, it's great. I've shared the Agents of Impact handbook later through the slides here, which I'll upload into Tazzle for you guys, which is a little bit of an older version, but there will be a new version coming out. And it's the great thing about what I'm going to share here, and being in education and educators listening, there's no cost to any of this. And that's what one of the most impressive things to me was when I connected with Hope for the Day was it's a free mental health education resource to your students. And when you hear free in education, it's like, okay, what do I have to do? What's the grant? What do I have to figure out here? And it is there isn't. So there's nothing here. But every year, suicide takes lives, 44,000 lives in America alone. 121 deaths or completions per day. And we're going to kind of look at some other statistics here. 800,000 people a year are dying from suicide, or they're completing a suicide. That doesn't even include the attempts. It might happen in your school. You may have already had completions in your school. Getting people talking about suicide is a very difficult topic to talk about. A lot of people don't want to do it. I'm sure if you ask your students in your classroom, everybody raise your hand if you've been impacted by suicide, you're going to see a lot of hands go up. Or maybe a couple, and it's one of the leading causes of deaths in their age group, 15 to 24. It's right there in the second and third leading cause of deaths nationally and worldwide. So it's something to talk about. So those 121 completions every day, I'm going to share a campaign with you guys that you can even push out with your students and get them active in it right away. And we'll get to that in a little bit later here. But suicide's at a 30-year high, 30 years. So if you're not talking about it, we need to address it. We need to break the silence, start the conversation with your students and get it going. I'm sure most of you are in your health class, but it doesn't just have to exist in health. You can carry this over into any content area. So I want to hear from you guys, a little Tazzle time. How do you guys address the subject of suicide currently with your students? I'm split screen here, so I'm seeing your answers as you guys are going. And I would love to hear what you guys have. Just read a couple of them, and I love sharing ideas with you. So I'll give you a minute to add that in there. So how do you currently address suicide within your class? See if we got anybody brave enough to share. Everyone's looking back at their lesson plan book.
And well.
Yeah, and so I see here one about just addressing depression up till that point. What's nice about Hope for the Day is it's not just about one form of suicide or one demographic. I'll address that. I'll show you guys the resource cards here in a little bit. Awesome. Spend a day or two on the topic during mental health unit. So important. You got 2 great months. You got September and you got May. You got Suicide Prevention Month in September. You're right here. It's right around the corner. And then you've got May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So you've got some great resources or some great times to come up and talk about that. I got a little visitor in the background here. I'm sure you guys hear her laughing. So she just ran in from outside. She wants to be part of the presentation.
Nice.
So she wanted to be part of this, but that's what makes us go every day. What is our reason for wanting to teach? And I got 3 of them. So and then I'm going to just share a little attention grabber that I use with my students when we start talking about suicide prevention, and it goes with the full topic of breaking the silence. So I'm going to just play this here for you guys. See if it goes.
From all outward appearances, John had everything going for him. He had just signed the contract to sell his New York apartment at a 6-figure profit, and he'd only owned it for 5 years. The school where he graduated from with his master's had just offered him a teaching appointment, which meant not only a salary, but benefits for the first time in ages. And yet, despite everything going really well for John, he was struggling, fighting addiction and a gripping depression. On the night of June 11th, 2003, he climbed up to the edge of the fence on the Manhattan Bridge, and he leapt to the treacherous waters below. Remarkably, no, miraculously, he lived. The fall shattered his right arm, broke every rib that he had, punctured his lung, and he drifted in and out of consciousness as he drifted down the East River, under the Brooklyn Bridge, and out into the pathway of the Staten Island Ferry, where passengers on the ferry heard his cries of pain, contacted the boat's captain, who contacted the Coast Guard, who fished him out of the East River and took him to Bellevue Hospital. That's actually where our story begins. Because once John committed himself to putting his life back together, first physically, then emotionally, and then spiritually, found that there were very few resources available to someone who has attempted to end their life in the way that he did. Research shows that 19 out of 20 people who attempt suicide will fail. But the people who fail are 37 times more likely to succeed the second time. This truly is an at-risk population with very few resources to support them. And what happens when people try to assemble themselves back into life, because of our taboos around suicide, we're not sure what to say, and so quite often we say nothing. And that furthers the isolation that people like John found themselves in. I know John's story very well because I'm John. And this is today the first time in any sort of public setting I've ever acknowledged the journey that I have been on. But after having lost a beloved teacher in 2006 and a good friend last year to suicide, and sitting last year at TED Active, I knew that I needed to step out of my silence and past my taboos to talk about an idea worth spreading. And that is that people who have made the difficult choice to come back to life need more resources and need our help. As the Trevor Project says, it gets better. It gets way better. And I'm choosing to come out of a totally different kind of closet today to encourage you, to urge you that if you are someone who has contemplated or attempted suicide, or you know somebody who has, talk about it. Get help. It's a conversation worth having and an idea worth spreading. Thank you.
So you guys know, as educators, we all know the power of TED Ed, or just TED Talks, TED Ed. Some are over the heads of a lot of our kids. and I just like the simplicity of that one. I'm going to come back to you guys for a minute here. At the same point, so my kids don't just think I'm somebody up there standing in front of them, I also share a personal struggle with them, which didn't come out until the first time I actually did an assembly with Hope for the Day. We had a group of students that we were, they were in and out, and I just grabbed the microphone and I told my personal story. But it's been a little bit over a year since I lost my brother to a completion. He was troubled and he struggled as well. And this is kind of my work doing this, is making sure that his name and this is his legacy, that I can do this and I can reach out to my students and to other people outside of just my classroom. This goes way bigger than my class. It has blown up into me going to concerts and speaking to people and going to sporting events. And it doesn't just stay at my classroom. And it's not just me, it's my students as well. My students have created events, they've done projects, they've done advocacy work. And this has all happened within about a year and a half's time. I did start working with Hope for the Day or reaching out with them and using their resources prior to that occurring. And it just happened to be a full circle where all that happened. So it really, with being that personal connection, it really tied me into wanting to do more and being able to do that. I wondered if there was programs like this when he was in school, maybe would it have changed? So the idea behind the Hope for the Day outreach is proactive presentation or proactive prevention. And it's maybe something a little bit new. Maybe if you're nervous about teaching suicide prevention or even talking about the topic, this could be a way to really engage your students and get them more involved. And I'll go back here and just kind of share with you a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Proactive presentation is about, don't wait for the crisis to occur, be in front of it. Break the silence. Don't be afraid to hold these serious conversations. Make sure they understand that your room or that a counselor's office is a trusted spot to go to, that they can go to these counselors' offices and talk to them or come to you. Your room should be open, or if it's not, let it be open to them. And they may not know where to go. But also having your students there. Your students are on the front line. I always joke with my students. I ask them, who's the best security guard in the school? And they start naming all their favorite security guards or the people they see the most or the deans. I said, you guys, there's 3,300 of you. There's only 300 staff members or so in the building. So you have your students, your peer-to-peer proactive prevention is important. It's all over the place. And if they can know where to find that or find a person, if they know who the agents of impact are, which I'll get to in a minute, those students can make such an impact on their own peers' lives. And it doesn't just have to be the adults that they always can feel trusted to go to. I had a student one time who told me, we were talking about this topic, and when someone's like, well, what if you tell on your friend who came and talked to you about they were feeling suicidal? And what if they're mad at you? She said they can't be mad at you if their friend is dead. So don't let them feel that. What if somebody's mad at you? If they don't talk to you ever again, tell your students, if your friend doesn't talk to you ever again, they aren't going to be able to talk to you if they're not here. They'll get over it. And if they never do, you can at least live with that feeling in your heart that you saved somebody's lives or saved somebody's life.
Good points.
So breaking down these stigmas, we're fortunate to have some very awesome resources in the Chicagoland area. I don't know if I said that, but I'm in the south suburbs of Chicago, where Joliet's located. And at our local junior college, they do an annual anti-stigma symposium. And it's pretty awesome. We did it the first year, including our students. And it really, really entices them because there's famous bands there. They get to meet some of these lead singers and frontmen and guitarists, and they eat it up. But what is a stigma? As you heard in that video that John talked about, where it was the first time speaking in that TED Talk, he talked about taboos, stereotypes. We have them. They're all around. So these are the social and cultural factors that try to dictate how we are going to express ourselves. Everybody expresses themselves differently. We have so many different ways of self-expression. I use the bike, my BMX riding, I use that as my tool to reach them, to hopefully they figure out what their own natural high is. And for those of you that have used natural high, the substance abuse prevention program, I tie these 2 units together. I'll show you kind of what my students did at the end of last year during Mental Health Awareness Month, on how we tied Hope for the Day and Natural High together. And it really, if they focus on their own strengths instead of their weaknesses, you can really break down these stigmas, break down these walls, and they might find out the person that's been sitting next to them in class all year long is just as excited about art that they are, or just as excited about music. They might not even realize it, but they've got their best friend sitting next to them. So, so Hope for the Day, and I can't stress this enough. I'm so fortunate to be local to them. They're in downtown Chicago. I'm a quick 40-minute drive there, or 40-minute train ride to get to them. But they're national, they're international, national. They go all over. They do USO tours overseas to go speak to veterans. They travel with Warp Tour. So if any of your students go to Warp Tour, they'll see them at the merchandise area, or they call them merch tables. They'll see them right there. Johnny Boucher, the founder, he'll be up on stage before a band goes on, and he'll be introducing the band and talking about suicide prevention and mental health education right there at Warp Tour, or even local venues all across the country, or even in like Germany and other countries as well. And so these kids start being like, hey, I remember seeing that shirt. I remember seeing that shirt when I was at a show. And all of a sudden this conversation starts getting there just from something that they saw through popular culture that maybe they didn't know was something that is all in all was about school. So you get this whole other side of things that you didn't even know that your students were even going to identify with. I had a student one day last semester, she wore in a Hope for the Day shirt before we even started the unit. I was like, nice shirt. And she's like, you know about this? I was like, oh, just wait, we're about to get to unit 2 here. And she was like, oh. And from that point forward, man, she was bought into my class. She was hooked, and she was always into anything we were talking about with this, and it helped with all my other units as well, because she had that buy into the class. So I think it's huge, and it's just that one connection. So but Hope for the Day's main purpose is suicide prevention, and like I said, that proactive prevention through the self-expression platforms, whatever it is. I can share in Tozzle, or I can put together a Google folder, just natural high worksheets that lets them find their values and their natural high. Natural high is just, in my opinion, is another word for self-expression. We all have it. So I use some worksheets with them. I don't have one. You do. You just don't know. And that they all of a sudden discovered they figured out what it is. So, so resources. I'm going to come back to my camera here in a second. School assemblies. The school assemblies are awesome. We did a movie showing in ours. They produced a movie with some local students called I'm Fine, and there's a resource viewing guide. I'll be doing that in my classroom this year. For those districts that aren't big on showing movies, it's not super long, so don't worry. It doesn't take up a ton of class time, just viewing a movie. And it's pretty impacting, and it's modern. It isn't like something that's, you got to bust out the VHS. It's done within the past couple of years here. There's resource cards, and the resource cards are basically like a tangible Instagram post. You've got the picture, you flip it over, there's the resources. So it's like seeing that in your hands instead of going online. You've got wristbands, and I'll show you those, and then buttons, and the button's got a hidden message, which is really cool. And Hope for the Day also is a certified mental health first aid provider, and they'll come out and do that, or you can even go to their location and do that, and they'll do it for staff. They've done it with Plainfield High Schools out here in Chicagoland area. They did that with their students, and that's one of my goals this year, is to get a group of students certified in mental health first aid. We know hands-on CPR, but how do we actually address an issue when it's a student that's struggling with their mind and not their body? So it's important to have a group of students that maybe know that. We all know where the AED is, but where do you send somebody if they're feeling down and out? Some kids have no clue. So these are important things to cover in your class, or to do them outside your class. Do it with a club. Create a club with it. So I'm going to switch back here. I'm just going to show you. And like I said, these are some stuff that I have. I bring with me everywhere I go. I go to bike races with them. I go to concerts with them if I'm going, especially with Hope for the Day. They're always available in my classroom. So this is a resource card here, and it's just got a little bit of information. And the hashtag that you'll see promoted with Hope for the Day all the time is "It's okay not to be okay," which it's simple, it's to the point, and we all have our days. We're not all perfect, and we know it is okay not to be okay. You flip it over, and here's your resource. So the students have these are in the class, and it just has this little part right here. Okay, so despite the things you've been through, it's okay not to be okay. And you go down to the bottom, whether it's and I'll go from the side here. I'm trying to read backwards, and you probably can't focus. But you have the new National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, the Crisis Text Line, so if they don't want to talk, but they just want to text back and forth. You have veteran resources here for veteran suicide, which 22 veterans a day take their own lives through a suicide completion. And then you've got the Trevor Project for LGBT youth. And so it's a wide resource here that reaches out to anybody who doesn't know where to reach out. There's going to be something here for them. And these are free to you. That you call them up, you become part of the program, and they'll send you out a box of resources. I would say within the past year, these boxes, they're dense. There's a ton of stuff in them. I'm probably on my 4th box right now. So people take these things and they thank you. It's funny when you're at a public event passing them out and you're handing it out, everyone's like, "What do I owe you?" "Nothing." And they're like, "Oh, cool, I'll take one." So everyone thinks there's always a catch to everything. You've got the wristbands. The wristbands, just simple, it's just that reminder. And they're always available in my room. And I tell my students, if somebody asks for it, give it to them. If they're struggling and they need this, give it to them, come back, see me, I'll give you another one. Or wear a couple and pass one out. You've got the buttons, okay? And this one's pretty cool. And this comes back to the whole punk rock scene and the music scene. But on the button, you're not gonna be able to read it through my web camera here. But on the rim of the button is a website for resources. And it just tells them, use this pin to pass it on and go to hopefortheday.org. And that way somebody knows there's a resource there for them. So the button's for you to give away. You can have it, but give it away to somebody who you know is struggling. One of my favorite ones that my students love, if you look at our laptops, we're a one-to-one school. I can't guarantee technology is happy about this, but is the sticker spool. Dude, look at that thing. This is all stickers. And the kids love them. I just tell them, no tagging the school with this, all right? Don't throw them on the lockers outside. Don't put them on the walls. And they're really good about it. And a roll of stickers, if they send you out one, it's like 500 stickers. It covers almost your entire, whatever, sophomore year. I teach all sophomores. So, that'll get me through a full school year, and every kid gets a sticker, and they're all over the laptops. It's hilarious. So every kid's rocking it on their laptops. And it's that constant reminder that they've gone through things, or they've gone through the talks, and they know what's going on. So, but those are resources that are available to you. And if they come out, if Hope for the Day comes out and they do a talk, they'll have those even there. I'll walk you through the assembly. So they came out to our school, they spoke second period, which our freshmen only are on during first period, and then a little bit of third period, and then our lunch periods are 4th period to 7th. During that 4th period to 7th period, the founder of Hope Today was set up in our cafeteria with a resource table there to speak to kids who maybe needed more. And then we had counselors that were on standby if a kid was actually opening up more, and they could go straight to the counselors. I know personally that day I had 2 kids come to me that were struggling. And then I know there was a couple more, but it gets them open. It opens up the conversation just to even talk. And once the heading of this, just talk. And maybe they're not suicidal, but they're struggling with something. Maybe something's heavy on their chest and they just didn't know somebody was actually there to listen. So, but I'm going to go back here. This is just a little bit from Hope for the Day here.
Hey, Kris.
Yeah, but
real quick, there's a question about, does the program have resources for younger students? Which those look like they would be good for the middle school. Like I teach middle school. They did look like they'd be good for middle school and stuff. But what other resources do they have?
So middle school wise, I taught junior high, middle school, or junior high health before high school. And this is stuff that, I mean, you really just infused your own lessons. But it's age appropriate. It's not I would say yes is the answer to that question. I do it with sophomores, and then I have old, upperclassmen that still are involved. And then with the younger kids, I've been trying to reach out to, we do snowball at our school, and then the junior highs do snowflake, which is that weekend retreat. They do a one-day lock-in for snowflake at some of the local junior highs. And I'd like to go and speak to them and get this out there as well. I just think it's, I've done it where we're actually, my race team for BMX racing, surface racing team, our whole team, which ranges from 3 years old all the way to 40 years old, maybe even a little bit older, but we all consider ourselves agents of impact. They all do work with me. They pass out the resources. They're willing to open up the talk. The little kids really don't talk too much about it, but they're rocking the wristbands. They know that it's about mental health. Maybe not so much the suicide side of it, but getting them able to talk about that. I have had parents at the elementary level even ask me, how can my kid get involved and figure out something? Maybe they're in a funk, and the people, once they know that you're involved with this, or once they know that you know where to go. I'm not, by no means, I'm not a social worker. I'm not claiming that I could solve the problem, but I know where I can steer you in the right direction. The biggest thing is, don't try to fix somebody. You can't fix somebody, but help them, steer them, guide them. And that's the biggest point that I bring to my students. Just because we've gone through this program, don't act like you are the answer person. You know where to send them for the answers. You know how to get them to the next step. Don't try to fix them. That can't be what you're trying to do. That could end badly. So you don't want that to occur. So and then I know in our district, the elementary district has added more social workers, which is awesome. So.
All right, one more quick question.
For sure.
Let's talk about parent communication. So what's your parent communication like before the unit, and is there any communication during the unit and things like that, or what do you specifically do?
So what I did last year with Agents of Impact, as we did it in our mental health unit, the parents know the unit that we're going to get into, and they know that there's going to be an assembly, but really the parent follow-up, we have events at school. So we did a Volley for Vets event last year, which was to bring awareness to veteran suicide. And we partnered with local veteran organizations and another group out of our school, another club out of our school, and one of my past players and we organized that with some other students. And it was about suicide prevention. And people knew that. It wasn't, that was right on the flyer. So, and it was right on the Facebook event page. So it's not like we're hiding anything. We share a lot through our one-to-one platform with our parents, a lot of social media sharing as well. So there isn't, it's totally transparent. If a parent's interested or they want to know, like if they come home and the kid brings this card home, let's talk. It's not we're not hiding anything. And a lot of times if the parents see this, they're more excited about it too, because now they're understanding, maybe they didn't realize the stigmas behind suicide. So to break those walls down and see that, I haven't had any negative parent response at all. I've had parents thank me as young as 6th grade when I was teaching junior high health, and I did talk about suicide, but I wasn't at this extent of it. I did have parents thank me for it, maybe open up conversation at home. So you can't be nervous about upsetting your parents. This is something that happens. When you're going to talk about automobile accidents in driver's ed, that's the #1 leading cause of death in teenagers. This is the top 3. So why would you not talk about it? And that's what they need to, if a parent has a question, you're just addressing something that's a serious issue. When 121 lives are being taken every day, they need to understand that this is something that needs to be talked about. And the silence behind it is what makes it a hard thing to talk about. And breaking that silence is so important.
You got it.
I'm not going to read word for word to you guys, but like when you go to Hope for the Day's website and you click on the new campaign, which I'll explain to you guys here in a second, 1 for 121, This is what you're going to find out. And basically, it's kind of what I've already said about stigmas and suicide being at a 30-year high right now. But the proactive intervention is a fundraising goal that you can bring awareness, and parents can get involved with that even, and students can set up a fundraising page and try to raise $121. And by doing that, they can get their parents involved with this as well. I know that question came about, how do you get your parents involved? But the 121 pledge, it's raising at least $121, commemorates those who've died to suicide, and will fund proactive programs like the ones that are available to you and your students. And they can create their own programs. So maybe each club makes their own 121 campaign. So it's an $121. Being in a school, being involved with sports for over a decade, $121 is not a lot. That's not hard, but it brings awareness. And if you can reduce that down to $100 in 5 years, then you've just reduced the number down 21 deaths a day within 5 years. And that's the goal, is to bring this back. So if you look here on this last line, join the proactive movement to lower the goal from 121 to under 100 in the next 5 years. That's an attainable goal. We teach our students, set realistic, reachable, or attainable goals. That's attainable. And that's just by bringing this outreach and having your students being proactive in this prevention program. This is just a little bit of the resource. This is the table that you'd have set up if you were to be involved. You'd have this come out and set up in your school and get kids into it more. This is the resource card, the front of it. Here's our assembly. This is actually our auditorium right here up in the top. But this is when we did our assembly. And then the mental health first aid training, which is available through them as well. Just amazing resources. And like I said, for everyone that's listening, for this stuff to be free to a district, and I know I'm in Illinois. If you've seen Illinois, education funding is not very good. We're going through a lot. But for something to be free, it's just huge. It's huge. But the goal through proactive prevention is through outreach and mental health ed. And for all my health ed teachers that are listening, you guys are the front line. You're right there. You can put this right into anything you're already doing. If within your mental health unit, and even carry it out further, it could be an overall big idea that you're encompassing into all of your units. Doesn't even have to be the health teacher. We last year at our alternate campus, it was our flag football team for our alternate kids, and they were wearing the wristbands, and it brought this like positive reaction to these kids that maybe are down on their luck. They're sent to a different school and for behavior, and they bought into this. They were excited about this, and their health teacher over there did an awesome job of teaching them about the proactive prevention, and they brought it into their own team. So to see that and see those kids really buy into it was just awesome. And we went out and we supported them. I brought my health classes out to cheer them on during one of their football games, and it just ties everybody together, and it brings this camaraderie and togetherness through one single topic. So let's see what else we got here. If Andy Milne's out there, I stole this from you. Not gonna lie, don't worry, I linked you. For those that don't know, Andy Milne, check him out. Find him on slowchathealth.com. Awesome work, but it's about advocacy, getting your students to be advocates for mental health and suicide prevention. You can do projects, events. Make sure it's peer-to-peer. Let it be from their own peers, coming from a teacher. They get sick of listening to us. I don't know how to put that even better, but they get sick of hearing our voice over and over. So if you can get students to be the front line for this peer-to-peer intervention, it's way more impacting. A couple of years ago, we were using the youth risk behavior surveillance system. I don't know if you guys use it or not in your units as it is now, but I shared a link, which will be active after this, for using the youth risk behavior survey data in health ed, and that's from Andy Milne. And it allowed their students to see where there was deficiencies or where there was issues, whether it was substance abuse or dating violence or in mental health or suicide prevention, and allow your students to take on an advocacy project. And the work that he's put together with this is awesome. I'm going to share just a couple things that my students have done, but his blow mine out of the water. So I got to catch up. My students, it's the Agents of Impact program. And this is the advocacy work through this. And Agents of Impact, their mission is awareness and outreach. Being the bridge to connect people to resources. You're not solving the problem. You're just a beacon for those in your community. And it's awesome. Up on the top, this is an active link on the picture here, up on the right-hand side. And that'll bring you to, it's a little bit outdated. There's going to be a new one that's going to be being released really soon here. Some of the statistics are a little off in here, and there's going to be a little bit more revamp to the program. But that'll let you really see what the Agents of Impact is all about, and a full handbook and guide of what you are to do and what you're not to do. And that's where a lot of these questions get answered. For agents, use your own students in your classroom. I wanted to start a club. It was actually a BMX-related club. Got a grant from IAFERD, Illinois Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. I bought several bikes. I got another grant, bought over a dozen helmets, and we use it in the classroom, both with PE and health. We do a little health on the move, where we use that as a tool to find your own self-expression and maybe even unlock somebody's hidden passion they didn't even know about. But for after school, we're still working out, iron out some details, but there is liability anytime you put a kid on two wheels and riding around a town. So athletes and teams, you can have your sports teams. Just jump right into this. You can have another club, let's say it's a club about, culture, something like that. They could tie this in. They can have their resource cards and have them out there and promote it within a cultural event. So your athletes can be promoting it within their own sport, and then reach out even further, community groups. I do it with a group of racers. There's 30 of them, and they're from high schools all the way from Southern Illinois to Northwest Indiana, and junior highs and elementary schools. And I share this message with them in our team. They bring it back to theirs. I have another racer who wants to do it right at a neighboring high school in Minooka. And I'm blown away by the reaction and the support and how many people want to be involved. This is when I said projects, my students put together an advocacy project after the assembly. They used certain hashtags and tagged certain things in the post, whether it was on Instagram or whether it was on Twitter. These few were shared from Twitter. But they made their own resource cards, like I showed you earlier. And these are just a couple of them. I know they're public on Twitter, but I still blacked them out. Just didn't want to put that stuff up there. But they've created this, and they're putting out the resource. They're being advocates for their classmates and peers, and it just gave them a sense of pride. They made these with Canva, and I know I saw another workshop earlier on Phys Ed Summit where somebody else was using Canva to create a syllabus for their strength training program. And they made a booklet out of it. I love that. I'm stealing it, just telling you. So if you're listening, I forget which presentation that was, but I already saved it in Canva. That program's awesome, and it makes really, really nice graphics. They're already pre-made for the social media platforms you're doing. So the kids like it. It's social media. They're sharing it out to their peers, and it's simple.
Hey,
we did it. Yeah.
First off, those are amazing. I mean, they look really, really cool. There was a question about, were the students creating their own Twitter account? Was it a class Twitter?
No.
Or was it something that they just had, so they decided to use it?
It's their own. I just never don't follow them back.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't follow them back. I don't, they're on it already. If they don't want to share it, I also just put a link in Google Classroom, and they can upload their image directly to that link or to that assignment if they don't want to share it through social. But some of them wanted to. They wanted to have a wider span, a wider reach. But I didn't limit them. But in order to get points for the project, I just had the Google Classroom one. So I asked them, please put it in Google Classroom, and then if you share it, obviously I'll see it because they tagged my my name on there as well. But in which was awesome because I'll never forget. I think it was not this one, but it was a nutrition one, and it was for Food Revolution Day, and we did this campaign for Food Revolution Day, and one of my students comes in, she's glowing because somebody from One Direction liked one of her posts. Because he was part of the Food Revolution like campaign, so he was just looking at things and he liked something of hers, and she was floored. She couldn't believe that one of the members of One Direction liked her thing. So I mean, that's something she's never going to forget. You know, that it's so no, I don't require them to put it on social media. I allow it if they want to, but then they just put it into Google Classroom so I can see what they created, and then I'll share it out if they don't want to. So.
Good deal. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. That's a great question, though. I know a lot of districts shy away from social media, and I love that one about tech earlier, where you can't be afraid of technology. You got to use it to increase the learning, and it's so huge. If
they have a bigger audience. You know, they have a bigger audience.
For sure. You know, I've heard someone talk about one time. We're teaching in their world, so we got to figure out how they're learning, because they're all tied into their phone, they're in their computer, and the technology component of it's huge. But it's not just all tech. Here's an event that we did, the Volley for Vets event. We got community support. If you see on the banner, there were several local community businesses that got involved. We raised funds for Disabled Patriot Fund, which deals with both mental health, mental disabilities, whether it's traumatic brain injury or PTSD. They help soldiers with that. We played a neighboring high school. We had shirts made and jerseys made for all the level kids. They were all required to sell so many shirts, or they were suggested to sell so many shirts, and they did an awesome job. We ended up raising close to $2,000 for Disabled Patriot Fund through the event. And then I had my students, they were manning tables and passing out resources throughout the event. For patriotism with the military and freedom, and then they were also passing out the suicide prevention resources. So it was an amazing event, and it kind of culminated the whole semester of this whole first year with Hope for the Day. So it was pretty awesome. One other one they did, this was getting the bikes involved, and thank you, Di Aford, for the program enhancement grant for this. And this is just a little video that the students and I put together. We were playing with some different apps, and for those that are wondering, like, easy ways to do this, Adobe Spark is one. We used GoPro Quick for this one, and GoPro Karma is another one. But I'll just play this. It's only a couple minutes. I think it's maybe 2 minutes long, and it just shows using the bikes, and you'll see smiles. The thing that really hits me the most on this is these are kids that some of these kids that are smiling in this video are ones that I didn't see smile all semester, or I never was able to reach them. So to see them doing that was just awesome. Let you guys see this here. The unit we call wheel therapy.
Outstanding.
So yeah, man, it was a really fun unit. It was pretty cool. We took a time out from the classroom for a few Fridays in a row, went out there, and it even turned into more. I had a kid start bringing in a drone and doing aerial footage when we were doing it. We brought it out to the bikes out to the track, and we were bringing them out there. For anybody that's watched Breaking Away, it was almost like watching the little 500 in my class. But it was pretty awesome. And he brought his drone out, and that was his. He does drone racing, and he's into doing aerial footage with his drone. So that was his form of self-expression, and he started putting little clips together with that. And I didn't shy away from it. It wasn't physical, but it was his form of expression, and it was really exciting to see that. We tied it into STEM even, where some kids were building tools to work on the bikes. We had one kid build a multi-tool out of high-density 3D printing that they could put into a bike box, and it would change the shipping weight of the bike. And the thing fully worked. It was functional. So we hit all these different areas through one tool, and that was the bicycle. So it was pretty awesome last year. So I can't wait to see what we come up with this year. So a little Tassel time. I want to hear from you guys, but how can you promote proactive prevention in your schools? Maybe something that's currently already running. Let me hear you guys and see, and you can even share these ideas out to me. I'm going to share a contact page at the end with you. But I'm just curious, what maybe some of you guys are already doing. So I just went back to Tassel here, and Matt got me some questions, and yeah, you guys have been hitting me up. Look at that. So just taking a look here.
Yeah, as they.
I heard. I gotta check out the Sprott Kids. Kelly's sharing Sprott Kids. I'm interested. I want to check that out.
Someone was talking about 10-year-olds and just younger students, and I guess, can you offer a little suggestion as to how to approach the talk, or at least to start to talk, at that younger age level? Yeah.
So I really do address that in the beginning, is that if somebody has a passion and they're how to say this, but if they chase their self-expression or their passion and it's positive, like if it is a positive self-expression, that's going to do nothing but build their mind. It's going to strengthen their thoughts. It's going to keep them interested in things, and it's going to keep them from the things that we see be the downfall to maybe a kid that gets involved in the wrong thing, like drugs or alcohol or substance abuse. Obviously, maybe getting involved with gangs in school and whatnot. If they're involved in stuff, or if they follow that passion, you can start this in junior high. You can start this in elementary. In Illinois, we don't have too many of the proactive prevention, like police programs like DARE and GAIN anymore. But this is a talk to have with your kids. Have it in your elementary 5th grade health room, and just do it on goal setting. You don't necessarily have to say the word suicide. You just bring it up. Why is this a positive thing for your thoughts? If you check out the Wheel Therapy Facebook page, you'll see that there was people that I interviewed over the summer, all the way from 10 years old all on up into their 40s and 50s, about what the bike does for them. And the answer from a 10-year-old to a 50-year-old is a lot different. It's competitive nature and winning. And how does it make you feel? Good. How does losing make you feel? It makes you try harder. That's positive. That's positive intervention. It's positive prevention. You're getting their mind right into something. You don't have to bring up the word suicide. Maybe they don't even know what that is at that age. But just get them thinking in positive thoughts is the biggest thing that I can promote. The same thing with my kids. I got 7, 5, and 3. There's just positivity and keeping them busy and making sure they think right. So let them make mistakes too, though, but keep them positive. So yeah, I'm just taking a look at some more of these questions. Having the TEDx, that's awesome. About anxiety, I see Kayla talking about that here. That's awesome. I mean, TED Talks, if you use TED Ed in class and let them make in their own little TED, that's amazing. And you can tie this right into there, whether you use this or not. I mean, there's some other programs out there too. This is one that has been very, very positive with my class, and I just, I can't promote it enough, I guess. So There's not much I can keep promoting all the time. You know, it's kind of like you find one thing in education, and then the next latest greatest thing comes out tomorrow. So with technology or whatever it is, and this is something that I can continue to keep promoting. So I'll share, if you guys are interested in staying in touch, got some contact info there for you. I think we're running out of time here. I'm looking at the clock. I'm sure Matt's got another 11 or 12 hours ahead of him here.
Got a few more to go, man. The learning never stops. But no, I mean, just the fact that you would take your time and share this passion of yours is going to make a big dividend on our students. And, you know, it gave me another option and another thought process to continue to help break the silence. And I'm really excited to dive into some more of the resources to just kind of look at, you know, what I could possibly do. And I know I've previously done like an anti-bullying campaign or like a positive, we actually just had like a positive campaign too. And like our students just love when they get an option on what they can do. You know, and when you put them in charge, you know, and it's just wild, the things that they can come up with, you know, when you just say, hey, this is what we want to do and this is how we want to help. And I love your agents, you know, so I just love that thought process. So I'm excited about, you know, like I say, you sharing it and just thinking about the possibilities that can come out of this and your passion for everything. So lots of great thoughts.
Yeah,
so
you guys are doing great work with this. I'm super excited that this is continuing to go on. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you guys and everyone that's watching and that checks out the archive and sees it later on. Please connect, and you know, if you've got things that your students have done, I know there's other teachers out there that we've talked about collaborating our classes, you know, virtually, which is even really cool. So that's something that I would love to do too. Reach out and let's make it happen. Let's keep spreading the positivity and be proactive out there. So
right.
You know, yeah.
So don't forget, Flipgrid is in the Tassel, and again, Flipgrid is just kind of ends up being like a mosaic of videos, and you can just take a real short video of yourself and talk about like your thoughts and how you'd bring this into your classroom as well. I'd love to see that thing full, and I know people are busy and might be jumping to other sessions, but don't forget to come on back and do that. And again, there's a couple of subscriptions out there, so just put your thoughts in there. You know, we'd love to hear it. And then don't forget about going to physedagogy.com and looking for that certificate of attendance, our feedback form, and so you can get that PD certificate as well. So without further ado, Kris, again, just one final thank you, and just appreciate all that you've done, and thanks for being a part of the Phys Ed Summit and making everything a great day. It was my pleasure to get to know you and be here with you today. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, everybody else, have a great time at the summit.
Take care.
All right, bye now.